Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and begin drawing. The first thing we're going to need to draw is the axis of the project so that we could use them as the guide to draw the items precisely. For example, we could place beams, foundation, or slabs, etc. Now to draw the axes, we're going to have to first import a CAD plan into the project and proceed with drawing the axis accordingly. Now since we begin the modeling of the structural items with the foundation, I will also begin with importing the foundation plan, after which we're going to be drawing the axis according to that plan. So first I'm going to have to go into the structural CAD plan and import the foundation plan into it. You see, I've already opened the structural plan over here, and now I'm going to go up a bit. And this right here is where we have the foundation plan. So in order to draw the axis, we're going to have to import this plan into Revit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this plan, and without its titles, hit Ctrl+C, then open a new file, and then we're going to press Ctrl+V. We're going to also place it here for now, and we're going to reposition it later. Now you probably already know how we can bring a CAD file into Revit, but I'm still going to do it here anyway, so that you could also use it as a review. So first we're going to explode this plan multiple times in order to disintegrate all of the blocks here. Otherwise they might cause some trouble later on. So I'm just going to explode it to make sure that it won't have any problems in Revit. So that's enough, and now for the next step, we're going to have to specify the 0 point. You see, when you try to import your CAD plans into Revit, it's important that your plans have the same 0 points so that all the plans will be aligned together in different levels. Now that we know how important that is, I'm going to specify the 0 point. Now usually we decide for the crossing points of the horizontal and the vertical axis of the plans as the 0 points, unless you're already obligated to choose a certain point for that. For example, we were required for one project, we had to choose the crossing point of BN2 as the 0 point. So that's actually when you already have the file given to you. But now that we are starting from scratch, we could just decide on the crossing point of the A and 1 axis as the 0 point. Now I'm going to go over here, hit move, and then go up and zoom in over here. Then click on this crossing point. And also if your F12 key is on, make sure to turn it off. For example, as you can see right here, my F12 is on. So I need to turn it off first. And then here I'm going to type 0, 0, and then press enter. So now you see that our 0 point has gone onto the crossing point of these two axes over here. So now that we've adjusted the 0 point, we need to also check the units. In other words, we need to find out in which units this plan was drawn, because that's also another important point when importing plans into Revit. So I'm just going to zoom in onto, for example, here where we already have some measurements and check the distance. Like, I'm going to get the distance. From this point to this point, it says it is 410, and the distance says 4.10. So we figure that this is in meter. This plan has been drawn with the meter unit, and let's also check the distance between these two axes. You can see it says 500 now. Now let's check from here to here. It shows 5. So we figure that the unit of this project is meters, although the sizes here are centimeters. But overall, meter is the unit for this plan. So now that we've checked the unit, all that's left for us to do is to save this. And for example, I'm going to create a new folder here and name it DWG to Revit. So this is going to be for the CAD plans that I'm going to be putting in Revit. Now I'm going to hit enter, then go into that folder, and also I'm going to name this CAD plan. Preferably, we're going to put the name of its level. For example, I'm going to name this Foundation. And now I'm going to save it. Alright, now I'm going to head back to Revit, and I'm going to go into the Foundation level, which makes it the structural plan for -14.7. And first I'm going to adjust some settings. For example, Revit has already defined a scope box by default, which I'm going to set to none, so that I can go on with the process easily. Okay, so here I'm gonna have to import my CAD plan. So I'm gonna go over to this tab and select Import CAD. Now I'm gonna have to look for the file, which is this. Now down below, there are some settings that we always need to adjust. And you see, when we are trying to import some CAD plans, especially for some big projects, we make sure to import them in the current view only, as in this plan won't be visible in the 3D view or any other views, but the one that it's been imported in. So I recommend that you check this box because it's useful. Next, for the colors, I'm going to keep it on preserve, and we need all the layers and levels. And then we get to the most important setting, which is the import units. Here you're going to need to select the unit with which your CAD plan has been drawn. And we've already checked the units for the plan, because do you remember how I said that it's important to check before importing? Now, if you remember, our CAD plan was drawn with the meter unit. And also don't forget that whatever unit you select here has nothing to do with Revit's original units. And you should just select the units which are related to your own CAD plan, which we've just got meters for our own. So I'll just open the drop down and select meters. Now there's also another important setting where if you've chosen a certain 0 point for your CAD plan, you're going to have to set the positioning on origin to internal origin, as it already is by default. Now that we've checked all of the settings, we're going to import the file. And here it is. So now that we've got the plan, we could very easily begin drawing the grids according to it. So first I'm going to head to the Architecture tab, then find and select Grid. Now which way do you think is better for drawing the grids by? It's best if we use Pick Line, because we already have some lines here. So now you can see that over here we have some multiple lines, but make sure to pick the longest one so that your grid could cover the whole thing. Now after I click, it's going to start with 1, so you could either start with the horizontals, or you could just click on here and change this to A, and now if I pick the next one, it's going to continue automatically. So we're just going to continue and draw all the grids. Now you see I have drawn the grids up to D, and now if I click on this one, it's going to become E. So I'm not just going to continue, click on the next one and make it E and F and so on and so forth. Instead, I'm going to skip this one, then click on this grid to give it the right name. And then I'm going to click on the last one, which will get the right name again. And then I'm going to pick this one, so that instead of having to change the names of 3 grids, I'll just have to change 1. So now I'm going to very easily rename this one to D prime. Now let's also draw the horizontal grids. So I'm going to go over here and pick this line. But you see we just got the header on this side, which we could change it. First I'm going to rename this first grid to 1 and continue picking the other ones. And also if you insist on drawing the grids just like the plan, you could reposition the headers if you want. Now the next one is grid 3. And once again the next one is 3 prime. So we're going to skip it. Then pick the next one, which is 4, because also do you see how many more grids we have here? So if you don't skip, you'll have to rename them all one by one. So first draw the regular ones in order to save yourself from having to rename them all later on, and then edit the ones with prime on them. So you see at the same time that I am picking the grids, I'm also changing the header sides, and then we've got 7, then grid 8, and then we have 9, and this one 10, 11, and 12. Let's move the 11 grids header to the left, as well as the header for this grid 12. So now that we've drawn the grids all the way through, we're going to head back to the ones we skipped and draw them lastly. I'm going to also rename them immediately after picking them. And do you see how much easier that is? So now we have drawn all of our grids by using a CAD plan as the pattern. And now that we've got the grids ready, we get to the first step of modeling our project, which includes drawing the foundation and the lean concrete, all of which have some very important points that we are going to get to in the next video.